So hi, I'm Hugh from Action Coach, and today I'm meeting with Tara Fanning from Candinia Accounting. So thank you for joining us.
Hi.
So Tara is happens to be my accountant, and also working with several businesses I'm working with as well. So I thought she would be the ideal person to sort of, I guess, help us muddle through. I mean, some of the stimulus things, how it applies to us, and I guess how to use it and know when it's coming. Things. I thought she could help us with all of these. With a bit of an interview. So let's kick it off a little bit. I mean, I think Tara, the first thing is about the withholding tax credits. We're past the quarter now. What's actually happened and where are we?
To be eligible for those credits, you don't have to do anything. There's no application you have to do. You just simply need to lodge your BAS as per normal. The credits will be automatically applied, but they will not be applying any credits till the 28th of April.
Yeah, right. So that means that you don't actually have to do anything. And so people who haven't done anything, they're okay.
You don't have to do anything extra. That's right.
Right. That's a good step. And I guess the thing that we've been worrying about with some of the people I'm working with is if there is, if they have tax debts, for example, already, what happens then?
Although I haven't seen it written anywhere, it seems to be the assumption that the $10,000 is a credit to your tax account. So if you have a tax debt, you won't actually get that money. It will come off your tax debt.
Off tax debt, but does that mean they will still have to pay the withholding tax this quarter then?
No. So depending on the amount of their withholding tax, that amount will be credited onto their tax account. So
yeah,
they won't have to pay it, but they will obviously then have to pay their existing debt.
Yes, okay, right.
Yeah.
So okay, so it's not. So in terms of cash to a business, does that mean they will still be able to retain it for now, but they'll have the debt going forward, effectively?
Exactly. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So because of course, what we're worried about right now is, for our people we work with is cash in the bank. We want to keep cash in their bank. Right. Okay.
Well, the other thing to note as far as tax office credits go is at the moment that they are being very upfront with the fact that they will negotiate payment plans. They're not being hard on due dates. Everyone is basically entitled to a payment arrangement or a deferral of any debts to become due at the top of this moment. They will not knock you back.
Yes. Okay. So that was my presumption, but they've announced that, have they?
I've had phone calls from the tax office saying your client has a debt, we want to work with them, we will give them whatever arrangement they need to have. So
yeah.
They haven't put it on their website or anything like that, but I've spoken to people at the tax office and that is the situation.
Yeah, fantastic. Have they even sent out the quarterly BAS activity statements to fill out? I haven't received one.
Interesting. Yes, I've received I've received many on behalf of my clients.
Yeah.
But I have noticed a few anomalies where they haven't been generated in the portal or even in the post. So I don't think that's intentional. I think that's a mistake. You still need to lodge your BAS on time.
Yeah, sure.
At this stage.
Righto. We'll worry about that later. And of course, the JobKeeper, which is all very recently announced. How do you see it sort of, how's it going to work now? What's the next step,
So you'll need to apply. That will need to be applied for anyone who is eligible. To be eligible, you have to be an registered employer from the 1st of March, and you have to have had at least a 30% reduction in your turnover.
Yeah, so I've been saying to everyone I'm working with, look, lodge it anyway. Also, show your expression of interest on the ATO website.
Mm-hmm.
But the unclear thing is the per comparable period.
So the comparable period is in the previous year. So your March quarter this year compared to your March quarter last year, or your March month compared to your March month. April, May, June, so on. But they are making allowances for businesses that are new, and so therefore are increasing their revenue, or they just weren't around back then, or other reasons where your business might still have dropped 30% because of the virus, but it hasn't dropped 30% compared to previous years. So in those situations, you have to make your own application to the Commissioner, and they will have to use their discretion to allow it on a case-by-case basis.
Right. So, and I was talking to someone yesterday who was single operator this time last year. Now she's got 6 staff, and so her sales are much higher, but her outgoings are much higher too. So she's going to have a very significant loss of income, even though the sales are higher. So so she's going to have to apply then. Mm.
Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And I think with someone like that, they might just look at the last couple of months of trading and see that the downturn has been over the last few months. There's a lot of different ways, depending on the business. There will be a lot of different ways that will need to be proven.
And how will you do that though? Like, is it we got to wait for more information from the government, I guess? ATO.
I don't think that they will bring out set guidelines, because each business will be different, and each business will have different ways to show those things. So some people will be able to prove it in cancelled contracts. Other people will be able to compare possibly March to January if they've only been in business.
Okay.
It depends on the business.
Yeah, fair enough. Oh well, we'll keep that in mind for the people who have changed a lot on that front. And have you had much? Do you know much about the state government business support fund? I mean, I've got these queries. I'm reading the page myself, and they have so many criteria. There's a lot of government grants that you actually can't get anyway because they're so hard to. So
there is one $10,000 grant that is available. Again, you have to have dropped your turnover by 30% at least. But if that has happened, you can apply for this grant. And I have just had a message from the state government this morning about one of my clients who has been approved for that $10,000 grant. Right. And in the application process, we simply put in one line, because this business is a hairdresser's, they have lost their revenue. That's all we had to say. 3 days later, the grant is approved this morning. He will have the money in his bank account within the next 3 to 5 days.
Wow.
So it's quite a simple process to apply for that $10,000 grant. If your business has dropped by 30%, just get online and apply for it.
Okay, yeah. Well, I've got a couple that are people I'm working with who are in that exact position. Like all of their future sales have completely stopped.
It only applies, that $10,000 grant only applies to businesses who are not registered for payroll tax.
Yep.
If you're registered for payroll tax, you can't get that grant, but you will get a refund of all your payroll tax for the 2020 financial year.
I guess something so this is all going to come in, the payment's going to come in like the end of this month, is that right?
Which payment?
Well, the JobKeepers and things like that.
Yeah, so the JobKeeper they will start being paid in May. And it'll be so they will be paying them monthly in arrears. So your May payment will cover your April wages. Mm-hmm. If you can't fund the wages for your employees for April because you've had to shut, you either have to go to the bank and get a loan, and then you've obviously got to pay interest, or you can just stand them down for the month of April. And then when the money starts coming in May, then you can start paying them then. So you don't have to have started on the 1st of April. You can jump into this system anytime within the 6-month period that it is available for.
Okay, yeah, I understand. Okay, so it's month in arrears, but I hate to be in the position of getting a bank loan to fund wages and then hope the government pays.
Well, I wouldn't be recommending that. I think it's better to wait, because you're going to have to pay back the interest. Keeping in mind with the JobKeeper payment, you still have to pay superannuation out of your own pocket. You don't have to pay superannuation on top of the $1,500 a fortnight, but you do have to pay the superannuation on what your employees would have received as an income in those months, weeks. So if they normally receive $500 a week, and now because of the JobKeeper they're going to get $750 a week, you have to pay the super on the $500 a week that they would have got. So employers might be slightly out of pocket because of this JobKeeper allowance, which is why some employers will not choose to do this.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that actually brings us into the next one very well, and I've got on my list here. Is it like I'm helping a bunch of guys doing cash flow forecasting, for example. So where in your P&L or cash in, cash out do you apply these subsidies? You claim it as income pretty much per employee in that case.
Yes. Basically,
so it sits in the income.
It'll be a GST-free payment to the business.
Right.
And then the payments that they make out to their employees will be a deduction as a normal wage deduction.
As a normal wage, and therefore the super is as per it normally is, and hence what you're saying. So, okay, well, that's pretty important for someone to know that, because it was a question that we had as a group. Yeah, and of course, if you come up with many people interested in taking super out, I mean, I know the government said you can take up to 10,000 maybe before middle of the year, and
I have had a few phone calls about that, and in most situations I have been able to talk the person out of it.
How did I know that you were going to say that? Look, I haven't found any people I'm working with, like employers, interested. I'm just, the benefit of this is for maybe their staff or people they're making redundant. Like, you know, let's be safe.
Obviously, if that's your only option, then you have to go ahead with it. However, your $10,000 super that you take out today is not worth is a lot. The value of your super's dropped. So the taking out $10,000 now would have actually only cost you $7,000 or $8,000 a couple of months ago, because value of all investments has just dropped because of the share market. So you take it out now, you're taking out a lot more than you think. If you can't pay your mortgage, then there's better ways to go about it. Possibly, this is where it gets really tricky. Yes, the banks are most likely going to give you a mortgage holiday. However, you need to keep in mind that that's going to cost you more money at the end of the day. So with something like that, it might not be a bad idea to talk to your broker, work out exactly what it's going to cost you extra to take 6 months off your mortgage, weigh that up against the loss of the super, and see which way you're actually better off going. But I would do super as a last resort. Yeah,
I hear you, because the share market's dropped, in excess of 25%. So I'm presuming that share funds have dropped that much too. Sorry, not super funds.
Yep, exactly, because most of our super is invested in the share markets.
Yeah, okay. Cool. So that was a predictable one, but back on the advice on retaining cash if they need to in the business, like you mentioned, pushing out, extending loans or having a holiday period on loans.
Something I wouldn't. This is tricky. If your business is still continuing as normal, try not to take those loans, those holidays on your loans, especially on your personal mortgages. At least if it's a business loan, the extra costs that it's going to incur you at the end of the day because of compounding interest, at least you will be able to claim that if it's a business loan. But on your personal mortgages, I wouldn't, unless you have to. And unfortunately, there are a lot of people that are going to have to do that anyway. So whatever gets you through, but take the lease. Don't do it unless you have to, basically.
Rightio. And so coming back to that, and the reason is it just makes your loan longer, and so hence you want
yes,
to
so that if you get 6 months off now, they'll put the 6 months on the end of your loan, and interest will not stop accruing. They will. So your interest will
still accrue. Yep.
Just compound on itself.
I mean, something that I've considered with a couple of guys we've mentioned it too. We think we don't need to do that, but the option's there, and if we're in the game of retaining cash, and we take the money as if we were going to pay it off the mortgage and go and sit it in an account as our rainy day thing for 6 months, then go, okay, well, we didn't actually need to do that. Just go and put it on the loan anyway. Is there anything like that? just to.
Your other option is what you could do, which I don't know how much the tax office is going to like me saying this, but defer your BAS payment. They are so easy to deal with at the moment because of everything. The BAS payment that you would have made, put that in your account and keep that for a rainy day and get a 6-month deferral. Interest will not be charged like it will be on your mortgage.
At last, we get some real advice. Well, yeah, I think I knew that too, but that's but that's real, because if people can't pay for things, they can't afford things, they don't pay them, right? And that's the first one I'd do too. And I guess that advice is for car loans and equipment finance and as well.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Something that keeps coming up, but no one's got any clarity around, just like rent negotiations. It's sort of some landlords I feel are open to it and some aren't, and the government has mentioned things on it, but has there been anything on that?
The only thing that the government have done there has said that you cannot evict your tenants for 6 months. So if you can't pay your rent, your landlord cannot evict you for at least 6 months. It's not necessarily going to help anyone. You just get kicked out in 6 months anyway. So
yeah,
you're better off, if you're in that situation, going to your landlord, working it out amongst yourselves.
And that's always going to be the right thing to do. Communicate with them.
Exactly.
Yeah. And I guess the last one here is and this is the one that the government's talked about and people have, but no one wants to go there, and I don't want people to, but taking out business loans to keep your business alive. Like, to what degree have you come across that, and would you recommend it? I mean, what are the factors that are in there that the reason why you would or wouldn't?
Yeah, I don't like the idea of getting into debt if you don't have to. But what do it's gonna? I would have to see that on a case-by-case basis. What do they need the money for? What are the expenses that they can't pay? If it's rent, can they go to their landlord instead, as opposed to getting a loan they'll have to pay interest on? What is the interest rate that the banks will give them? What are the expenses? Do they have to be paid? Can we get extensions on the payments of bills before we have to go into debt to pay these bills?
Yeah, exactly, and that's kind of what I want you to say. It's the last thing I want guys to go to debt for to fund their business, and I think there might be a purpose if you're in shutdown and you can pretty much easily predict the business is going to get bang up and running, and you want to be able to retain all your key staff that are highly specialised and hard to get. And what deals you have to do to try and to be able to relaunch well. It's probably the only factors that I'd be considering, but I can't imagine that with anyone I'm working with right now in particular. And with staff that are trying to retain people. But then again, there's nowhere else for them to go in a hurry either, but it's just helps get through. You know,
exactly.
it's being a nice guy. The only reason you do it is because you're being a nice guy.
If that's the case, then you've got the JobKeeper, so it's $1,500 a fortnight. I mean, if there's skilled key staff, they're obviously worth more than that.
I heard you said that. I've got plenty of guys who are working with who are very happy to go and pay holiday pay or sick leave if for whatever time they need to, if the building site gets shut down and things, and because they want to look after their guys, and that's admirable if they can afford.
That's good. Yeah, that's great.
So
they can afford to do that. That's great.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, at the moment we think we can on several. So
good.
Well, I guess that's. Is there anything else that we've missed that we really should have touched on?
It's really, as far as government stimulus is concerned, that's most of the things that is available at the moment. But keep your eyes and ears out, because there might be more things brought in depending on how long this lasts.
Yeah, no worries. Oh, well, let's leave it at that then. And if, of course, if you want to contact Tara, or have any further questions, I'll make sure or contact me and I'll pass the details on. And we'll go from there. But thanks for listening. See you now.
Thank you. Thanks.